Hey guys, AP here, and today we are going to be continuing our HTML/JavaScript game tutorial series. Now I know you guys like the Lightweight Java Game Library 3 one, but hold on that one. I really like to do this HTML JavaScript game tutorial series because I really don't want the first one to be on the channel, and I just don't want to leave this standing here with this because this is obviously a game, right? Today we are actually going to be working on translations, scaling, and rotation. So translation, scaling, and rotation is obviously when you translate, scale, or rotate the object. So let's start implementing. With this new context, which is HTML context, which is where you can draw stuff, it's very easy to actually translate, scale, and rotate, but to actually do it correctly and effectively, you're going to need to learn a few things. So we need a few things to learn. Well, we already got the position, so translation is out of the way. We need the rotation, which is basically the angle at how much this is rotated. So we're just going to initialize it at 0. And we need the scale, which is going to be like position and velocity, but we're going to default it at 1, 1 because if you default it at 0, 0, then there's nothing's going to show up because multiply anything by 0, you get 0, meaning nothing's there. So to actually put these variables to use, we are going to go into our show method and basically do all these transformations onto our player object. So to actually start with this, you need to save the position we're currently at, or save the translation or the current context. Because when doing all these translation or transformations, you're going to be affecting the context, and that doesn't get reset afterwards. So you're going to have to do that manually. So to do that, before you even do any transformation, you want to say context.save, which basically saves the context as the name implies. And so when you call another one called context.restore, it returns it to what it was when you saved it. So basically, if we say we translate it 50 pixels to the right, and we save it, and then do like a bunch of stuff like rotating it 180 degrees, when we restore it, it's going to going to the back one, which is 50 pixels to the right. So to actually do a transformation, we need to do a few things. So the first thing we have to do is we have to say context.translate, and then where you want to translate it to. And since we already got that, we can just say this dot position index 0, this dot position index 1, which is the x and y's of the position. So there we go, this dot position x and y. And since we have the rotation and scale, we can also add those. So context.rotate, this is for the rotation, obviously. So the first thing we need to do is actually put the rotation in. So this dot angle. But there's going to be a problem, and I'll show you when I get to there. But right now we're just going to input all these. And then the last one is going to be context.scale. And like translate, we're just going to add this dot scale of x and this dot scale of y, which is index 0 and index 1. So technically, that's all you need to implement to get something running. There is going to be a few issues, and I'll show you once I actually get some setters for these things. So we need a set rotation or set angle, and then whatever the angle it is. So we're going to say this dot angle is equal to angle. Oh, forgot the parameter, angle. And then we need set scale. So set scale, and we are going to set it with an x and y. So this dot scale is equal to a new array with the x and y in it. So now that we got that, I'm actually going to go in here and show you what it does. So actually, I can show you there's a problem immediately right off the bat. Yeah. So as you can see, it's not really it's not really following the mouse anymore. So I mean, it still does a little bit of mouse input, but it's not really following the mouse correctly. And what is happening is that it is actually translating it and then drawing at add itself position, which basically doubles the distance that you need to do, which is not what we need to do. So when we actually draw the player object, we actually need to say it based on a 0, 0, because this is the new 0, 0. So all we have to do is just get rid of these positions because we already defined it up here, and just say negative dot size, unless you didn't center your rectangle, then in which case you just say 0. So now if we do that, now it follows it correctly and it's actually translated correctly. So translation's all fixed. So now let's actually set the angle. So let's just have a temporary variable called let temp equal 0. Temp is adding each frame, and then we want to set the angle each time temp is upgraded, which is every frame. So set angle to temp, and let's run that. As you see, it's rotating. It's doing what it is, but it's not really rotating the way that we think. See, we wanted to rotate it based on 360 degrees, and so 360 degrees, rotating 1 degree every frame, it's going to take 6 seconds to rotate a full thing. However, it's taking a little less than a millisecond. It's more than a millisecond, it's really fast rotating, is what I'm trying to say. So what is happening here is it's actually based off of radians when you plug in the number to rotate. So what's happening is radians goes between 0 and pi times 2. So that is like from 0 to like 6.29 or something like that. And if you add 1 to that, it's going to go real fast, real quick. So now we want to actually convert this angle, which we want it to be in degrees, to radians. So to do that, we're just going to multiply it by math.pi divided by 180, which basically means, hey, we want to say that we already know that math.pi is actually 180 degrees, so we want to convert the angle to whatever it is, which is pretty simple. So if we run this now, as you can see, it's probably going to take 6 seconds. I'm not going to count, but I know it's a lot slower, so it should be working correctly. And as you can see, it is rotating correctly, and it's going pretty good. So when we do scale, there's actually nothing wrong with it. It's just, it's a scale. So let's say set scale is equal to temp divided by 10 plus 1, because let's not have the 1 plus 1. So basically what's going to happen is it's going to keep getting bigger and bigger. Oh, crap. It has 2. So set temp scale for both. So now, oh, it's getting real big. Oh, yeah, there we go. So basically, that's what's, and it's all gone. So that's what scale does, is it makes it bigger. So we can actually make it a smaller speed. There we go. So now it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until nothing pops. It's just getting bigger. So there we go. Now we can click. Nothing's really changed from the input side, but now we can actually display our player in a multitude of ways. So I'll show you a pretty cool way of doing it. So let's say temp is that, but temp plus plus. Let's set the angle to the sine of temp. So sine of temp, which goes between -1 and +1. So we don't want that for the angle, so we are actually going to set that to, or amplify it by 180 degrees. So that way it goes between -180 and +180, which is 360 degrees. And for the scale, since it goes between -1 and 1, we're just going to multiply it like 5 so we can actually, see it. So math.sine of temp times 5. So math.sine of temp times 5. And we can actually set the the position to do the same thing. Oh my gosh, that is crazy. Oh, temp is so we have to make it a bit of a smaller number. So plus equal 0.01. Just make it a bit of a small number so we can actually see it. So there we go. That's a bit of a weird way of doing it. Did I? Ah, that's why I put the times 5 in the wrong place. So now if we run this, we should have a cool looking little rectangle right here. So, or square. So what it's doing now is it's shrinking and rotating, and then it's going to shrink back up and slow down rotating. It's just going to keep doing that, which is how a sine wave works. It goes between -1 and +1, the -1, the +1. So every frame, it's just going into that wave and converting it into an actual, like, graphical way of doing it. So that's it for the tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was pretty good. In the next tutorial, we're actually probably going to be implementing uh, images to it, so we can actually display this player as a bit more than just a square that can flash red when we click on it. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Bye!